Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unlocked. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson. In about 60 seconds, we are going to be going live, and I have got an amazing guest with me today, Tony Park, who is going to be joining me all the way from Tasmania, Australia. And we're going to be talking about how you can start to turbocharge your circle of influence using business tribes. So if you're looking for a way to be able to collaborate with others, be able to expand your influence and be able to grow your business and your influence, then you want to make sure that you hang around for today's show. So hang about, go get yourself a cup of coffee, and I'll see you back here in about 60 seconds time. Hey everybody, it's Tracy here. Welcome to another episode of the Unlocked Show. Awesome to be here with you guys today, and I'm having a bit of a giggle to myself because just as I cued in Tony, I put the 60-second countdown timer on, and then poof, Tony has disappeared. No doubt Tony will be back in just a few moments. I'm going to message him on Facebook and just let him know, hey, click the link again so that you can get back inside of the studio and we can have you on here live. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Tony. So when he does come back, Tony Park is actually, he dropped out. He's now good. He's going to come back. Here he is. He's like, oh, I disappeared. Look at that. Boom. I was having a little bit of a laugh, Tony, because like as soon as you go live, I'm like, he's disappeared. Oh, well, he'll be back, no doubt. That's the power of technology, right? You just push a few buttons and boom, you can be back on a screen. I was just starting to tell all of our audience about you, Tony. So Tony is also in Australia. He's Australian. I live in Aussie too. I'm on the Gold Coast. He's down in the beautiful Tasmania. I want to go down there because it's absolutely stunning down that neck of the woods, and you can see that outside. You can see that out his window. But Tony is actually an award-winning. He's been award-winning in the business sector for many, many decades, and I know he's going to have a story that he's going to tell us about his life and about his journey through business and how he's come to really be. He's an award-winning author, and how he's come to work with some people like Brian Tracy to actually put together a book, and also this concept of how to turbocharge your circle of influence and why that is particularly important when you are a business owner. And we were just literally having a conversation about the COVID impacts here in Australia and how we're currently in a situation of lockdown here in Brisbane and just the impacts that that's having on business. And I know that the topic that he's going to talk about today, about the extensive research he has done in this area and how this can really help us bounce back, particularly in a pandemic situation. So I want to talk a little bit about that too, Tony, because I know that particularly here in Queensland, there are many businesses right now. I just literally look out my window and I see them and I'm feeling for them. The number of businesses that are going to be impacted just this Easter weekend with the with this lockdown kind of upon us. They're sitting on a knife's edge, not really knowing, where to go. So I know that having some of these strategies that you speak of are really, really important for now, but also to hold you in good stead and to enable you to bounce back at any point in time should the unexpected happen in your business. So I want to say welcome to the show, Tony. Let's hear a little bit about you. What are you up to like these days? And I know you've written a number of different books, so tell us about those firstly, and then we can get stuck into this whole concept of turbocharging and the use of tribes. So let's go there.
Okay, I suppose on the story in some ways starts just a few years ago, going back to 2013. And 2013 was a year when I had some major heart problems, some kidney stone problems, a whole range of things, and at that point I nearly died. I had to sell everything up and start again. Really depressed, suicidal, whole range of stuff. Pretty down, and especially when I'd done a lot of things, and a lot of things for the community. Not only created over $54 million worth of businesses over the 45 years I'd been in business, but I'd helped a lot of organisations along the way, both at a local, national and international level. So at that time, I had time to reflect on those positive things, as you do. You get off the mat and just think, yep, I did these really cool things. Did too much. At one stage, I was on 22 boards and committees. It's just stupid. Just doing way too much. And in that reflection time, then I started to be able to look at, over those 45 years, I've done some really cool things. Even longer as a kid, going back to as a Cub Scout, back in the 60s, would you believe? As a Cub Scout, and that journey, I was involved with Scouts for 30 years, all through as a youth, as a leader, and branch vice president, and did some really cool stuff in marketing. But looking at all those organisations and all those things, there was one common thread all along. So what I then did was to do a joint book with Brian Tracy, where I was called Ignite Your Life, and that was the first book where I was able to put down some of those ideas, some of those journeys, which I called a business drive, and it was understanding networking in a different way. Everyone thinks they know about networking because they do it, like same as everybody thinks they know about tourism because they travel. But there's a greater understanding. If you understand the core things behind it, that's where the turbocharging really comes in. So that's when I wrote my second book, which was able to be called Business Drives. And what that was to give case studies and a whole range of things on what I'd done, not just theory, but real life examples of things which I did, and I created those businesses across a range of different sectors, retail and rental and franchising and agriculture and construction and aged care, and you name it. I'd actually built businesses up and sold them off, and that was a really refreshing thing. And then that opened up those opportunities, and I wrote a third book on alumni drives, and not just on alumni being people that you might have gone to university with, but everybody's in an alumni. Tracy, yourself, we're in two CCX alumni. Could be a sporting club, could be a mother's club at a school. People coming together, and you've gone through something together. And then you create those bonds together that are special. And those special bonds then allow you to work with them. They trust, and it's all about trust, and rolls from there. So I actually went back to university as well, because I was just so excited on this whole concept. And I did an MBA and a current master's, but also a PhD. So even though I canned the PhD just last week, because it was unfortunately on tourism and looking at the bonds between Tasmanian tourism product and Chinese travel agents. Well, Chinese travel agents are gone by the by. International product here, everyone's running around like a chook with head cut off. It's just a whole mess. So, but the important thing was the effect of a thing called guanji. So guanji is a solid cultural attribute in the Chinese community that's based on person-to-person relationships. And it's been in their culture for 2,500 years, based on Confucianism. So it started off with the relationship between a father and a son, and that bond, as you can imagine, 2,500 years ago in feudal China, that was really strong. And then it progressed into cross families and family ties and a whole range of things. But that strong tie, that understanding of that other person, and to help them to achieve, and in turn you get that good feeling of helping them. So in business, it was understanding people and then selling solutions, rather than in a Western way we just sell stuff.
Yes. So I want to ask a couple of questions just based on what you've already talked about. Given your extensive kind of knowledge and experience across multiple different sectors, when you were working and obviously being on multiple different boards, when you were working in all of those different sectors, and then you came to obviously had that really low time in your life where you were unwell and just not feeling on the top of your game, and then something happened where you were able to actually pick yourself up and like just keep going, and you talked about like reflecting on what were all the good things that I did. When you started to reflect at that time, was there a moment where you were like, I've done all of these things and I've done them all very successfully and been recognized at not just a local or even a national level, but at an international level? Was there something in there that was like, there's this common thread? Is that how this whole concept of business tribes came about? Is that what you saw? Like, how did this concept of like, how did you get to the point where you were, the thing that has created my success is this? And then how did you get to the point of now talking about business tribes and that becoming your, I suppose, the point of passion for you?
Yeah. It was that reflection on that journey on each of those things, be it a particular business, be it as an organisation, and there was some crazy things. You know, I was awarded the most outstanding national president of the world for JC's Junior Chamber of Commerce, and in that process, it wasn't just the things which I did in Australia. I was the first person since 1978. So that was in 97. So that was for first person in 20 years, and they still haven't increased membership. All those years there was a drop off, and we did some things. We said no, so we doubled membership the next year, the year that I was there, and then it dropped off again because people didn't understand those processes. So it's those things that were a success, but also those things that were challenges as well. But the common thread was understanding the other person's problem. So when I was selling caravans, RVs, it was understanding where families were in their life cycle. So younger families might have camper trailers and, you know, they muck about with tents and whatever. As they get older, they want a bit of luxury, and their kids might have grown up a bit, so they need a bigger caravan. As they get older, they might have a smaller car, then they want a little pop top or maybe a little motorhome. So it's understanding the people in their journey, in their lifestyle. Then you can target our solutions for them, rather than just trying to sell what you've got in the lot. You know, it's when we had a vineyard. So again, it's looking at growing the products that people want. Yeah. So in Tasmania, it was all about, you know, they first off they grew Cabernet, and then they transferred into Pinot Noir and Chardonnay because that was a slower ripening, full-bodied, you know, flavour rather than just, you know, a full-bodied wine. They want something quaffing, and then they flowed into sparkling, which was those things joined together. So you have to understand the consumer, what their wants are, and you have to change your product, change your service, change your delivery to be able to suit what they want. And that's why the online.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you're going to go down. That's exactly the same in the online space. Is that we very much are wanting to focus on like what is it that the consumer or that the customer wants. Where are they at in their life cycle right now? Where are they at in the journey? And then being able to provide a product and a solution that gives them the result that they need at that point that they require at that point in their life. So in terms of like, those concepts that we need to understand, and again, in any type of business, because that you rattled off like a whole bunch of different types of businesses and industries that you were in. And given that this is the common thread, we're saying that this is the one thing that really does make a big difference. And it doesn't actually matter what type of business you are in. Your networks and your circle of influence really does make a big difference. So how is it that most people would understand, okay, I've got to do networking because they've heard that concept, they've heard the theory behind why you need to network. How is this this concept of building your tribe different to building your network?
Yep. Most people focus on consumers. You see all the network gurus out there, they want a way that you hand your card across and how you get your little Facebook group and try to engage them and do all this stuff. But there's so many other tribes out there that you don't know about and you can't influence directly. So first off, in a business, it's just not the consumers that you've got. You can have your list and sell things too, but it's people like your employees. So it's looking after your employees, understanding their needs, what their wants. Can you do rosters different? Can you have child minding? Can you have a whole range of things to be able to make them good employees, where they look after the business? So again, it's you looking after them, they look after you. And you can save a lot of money, save a lot of stuff. And so there's a whole theory on how looking after employees directly increases your profit. But there's more, because they've got friends. So then when they become part of the tribe of the business and they have that loyalty because you've given them loyalty, they're the ones out there telling their friends, their people they influence, to be able to come and purchase from you because you're a great person who really looks after their staff and looks after their people. Suppliers. So I got a whole range of case studies on understanding suppliers, and a lot of businesses see suppliers as a cost center. They want to screw them down. They want to get the best price. However, you can actually reduce your costs so much more by looking after our suppliers, understanding, have a communication with your suppliers. So when I was in construction, had a process on plaster sheeting. So I went to a supplier that was supplying some things, hardware items and timber and a whole range of things, but they weren't supplying plaster. I was getting that from a third party. So they came to us, and I want to make that relationship with this hardware guy, and they were keen to be able to sell more product, more of this plaster sheeting to other people. So we came together and I worked out what I would need, because I had a construction company. We built transportable homes on a production line. So we worked out what the sheets we would need for the next 12 months, and we said, okay, this is what we're looking for. They went back to their suppliers and said, we got this core customer. Can we get a good price from the supplier, which they were able to based on our sales. Suddenly they were able to open up a whole new business and sell to other people. And they looked after us, we looked after them. And all these other building companies were able to get a much better deal than what they were getting as well. So that's a win-win as a process.
Yeah, so if I'm thinking about like tribes in the traditional sense, it's like having that sense of belonging. So from a cultural standpoint, it's like I belong. The operative word here that I think is important is I belong to that particular tribe. I affiliate with that particular tribe. So I think the concept that I'm hearing, or that my interpretation of this, is that if you can take the concept of building a tribe and you create whoever it is in your networks or in your circle of influence as coming at it from an angle of enabling them to belong to something, or feeling as though they belong to something. For example, all employees that work in our organization, they belong, as in they have ownership, they feel a sense of belonging to what it is that we're doing. And therefore that employee, and because we're delivering a level of service to our employees in the same way that we would deliver a service to our customer, they feel that sense of belonging. So therefore they are more likely to become a raving fan, and therefore talk to other people about how amazing we are, therefore continually building the tribe and that sense of belonging. Have I sort of understood that concept kind of correctly, in the sense that we're looking at it from all angles and creating, you called it that Guangxi type reciprocated win-win association? Yep.
And I think they're more than raving fans. I think they're raving advocates. So they actively go out and advocate. So if you look after a customer and understand that you've got a solution for them, and you find a solution, you may not have the product in stock. you may recommend someone else, but you do it in a way understanding that their problem is the most important thing that you want to fix. Then you've created a bond. It's like a big rubber band between you and that person, because you've respected them. You've understood what their problem is, and you've either got a solution or you've been able to find a solution for them. So what they do is they tell their friends. So this friend over here, they might have the same problem, and they say, "Oh no, Joe Bloggs has got this. They're the best people that've been able to help me. They were terrific." Or they may not have that solution. You might have even told them to go somewhere else for a better solution, but you've created that long-term relationship. And then when somebody's got a different problem that that you can fix, they recommend you. So it's that recommendation, that trust, that you're not trying to rip them off. You're going to be fair price. It's about, it's not about price. It's not about cheap. It's about having that solution. So you're not fighting on price anymore. You're getting a better return on your product. You're getting your marketing dollars are way less, because it's looking after those individuals. So as an example, which I've got in the book, is that if you've got, one person that you look after, they've got, even if they've got 10 or 100, 100 people who they know, and they're a raving advocate, so they're an advocate for you. Suddenly there's another 100 people who you don't know who may become customers, and then you've got that opportunity, and but they have friends. Then you look after them, and they recommend. So it goes on from there, rather than you just putting ads in paper and just trying to get to this big mass of people in the world. It's really looking after people and growing your business from there. So it's just looking at it in a different way, that's all.
Yes. So if somebody was wanting to implement this type of concept into their business, this is the thing that we talked about earlier, was there's we've been taught to build your networks. This is quite a shift from that. There's a shift from building your network to actually building your tribe. If somebody wanted to implement this methodology into their business, how would they go about doing that? Is there a framework or a system that they would kind of think through and start creating their plan or their approach to start building their tribes?
Yep, there's 5 steps. 5 steps. 5 steps. So the first is to understand the tribes around you, because without understanding who they are, you can't then look to understand what their problems are. So it's understanding the tribes, then finding out what the people around you, what their problems are. The second stage is then to engage with them. So it's no good saying, yeah, okay, they're out there, but you've actually got to engage them. You've got to sit down with employees. You've got to sit down in a professional engagement on a person-to-person basis. We're about helping each other. What can we do to help you? And there's a whole bunch of stories. There is enough. I've got so many stories, but there's just not enough time to go through all the stories. But it's engaging with them. But you also got to maintain that engagement. You just can't ask them and then it's finished. You've got to maintain that and have that discussion, have that respect. It's all about respect. See how they're going and that two-way thing to be able to. And then you can start to see how you can make money out of them, because you're trying to offer solutions, not fighting on price. Price doesn't come into it. And so there's a whole range of things where you can actually make more money for your business, a lot more money for your business, focusing on solutions. And then the last step, that's the turbocharging, is understanding ways to be able to, once they become advocates, is for them to influence other people. And now you're trying to then suddenly increase that circle of influence, not just this little customer base, not just this little list, but a whole range of different tribes all over the place, and they've got tribes. So suddenly there's heaps and heaps of people that you're engaging, all based on that same good feeling, on that trying to understand their problems and give them solutions at a good price.
So if I understand these 5 kind of processes, so at stage number 1 or at phase 1, we were understanding the tribes around us and like what are their problems. So whether that be your employees, whether it's your business partners, whether it's your strategic partners, whether it's joint venture partnerships, whether it's your customers, whether it's the customers that your customers actually serve, because you use the example of your suppliers. Like, if you could look after them, you don't know who those suppliers also deal with. That could potentially be a circle within the circle, is sort of what you're sort of describing, is like how it just ricochets out. It's that ripple effect. And then the next piece being like, how do you engage with those? So all of your different stakeholders within those specific tribes, how do I engage with them, and how do I maintain my my relationship and continue to nurture that relationship on a long-term basis, not just be let's have a conversation one day and hope that that's enough to, see us through for the next 10 years. It's like actually building an ongoing relationship with them. And then the third, refresh my memory, the third one was around that mutual respect. It's like having that level of mutual respect where it's a win-win for both of us. The fourth being, how do we now with what we've created, how does that impact or reflect in our bottom line? What would that look like from a profit point of view? How do we make that work and be profitable when we're nurturing the tribes and the relationships that we have? And then the fifth being, now how do we continue to nurture those tribes so that they then can continue the ripple effect and continue to speak with other people who may also, like that rubber band, you're stretching the rubber band and you're allowing that rubber band to then bring that person back to home base, so to speak.
Absolutely. And right now, as you mentioned at the beginning, tourism's going through challenges. One of the things I'm doing is developing it's not really a motel, but it's self-contained apartments down at Port Arthur in Tasmania, just across the road from the World Heritage Site. So, like everybody, we've been impacted with the international travellers and mainland, because that's our major market into those areas. But we'd actually had done a lot of work in the 4 years before when we first took it over, as we're looking to expand it. And in this time, we're actually doubling our number of rooms. Right now, because we've got huge demand that we've created because our relationships with local organisations, with scouting groups, with cystic fibrosis, with the whole range of not for profits. Because I did a program which I did before with another company, had Cozy Cabins, where we give away free nights in the winter. Because the rooms are empty. We give free nights to these organisations. It doesn't cost us anything because they were empty anyway. So there's a cost of cleaning and linen hire, but it's minimal. But it's us helping those organisations. And then in the pandemic, once people were able to move around a bit, they will come and visit us.
Yeah.
So it's just making one of those relationships between there. But even more with tourism, with that consumer tribe, they all tell their friends. So we've got this great relationship in the Tasmanian community that we're good people, that we help these people, and it just increases our sales. That we're not relying on other advertising price all the time. That we're a great place. Come down. You don't have to advertise. So just people come. But it gets even better. Right now, the relationships with travel agents are just so important. So we're the only company in that whole southeast region of Tasmania that has a relationship with travel agents. And you can say, travel agents, when you add commission and third-party commissions, it was nearly 35% that we give away or cost, or we see that as that's what we have to do to build those relationships. Because tourism, you make your money in the low season. You don't make it in the high season. In the high season, you're full. Once you're full, you're full. You can't get fuller than full. So when I had a company, we were the largest tourism accommodation place in all of Tasmania. So Cozy Cabins, we had seven locations of my own that I sold to Discovery Holiday Parks, and another 13 in a franchising system. And our average occupancy was 80% for the year. I sold to Discovery. They bought it for a whole different reason, but their occupancy was less than 50% within 2 years. because they had this concept that that the summer was that major focus. And most businesses, tourism business on the mainland are that. But that relationships with travel agents is what you're able to build up in the shoulder and the low periods. So a bit of commission in the summer and you roll from there. So it's that relationship that makes more money for those people.
Absolutely. And
yep.
I was going to say, just building on that, I mean, I want to give an opportunity because this show obviously is going out on multiple different channels and it's heard all around the world. I want to, I suppose, give you an opportunity to talk about Tasmania even just before we dial out, and like the reasons that, you know, people, when all of this is over, the reasons that people should come to Australia, and even for Australians who are listening now, you know, for us to start supporting locally and start traveling around our own country and supporting, you know, the tourism industry, because it's been hit really badly in this pandemic sort of situation, and like I said, I opened the show with it's probably going to hit really bad, particularly in Queensland over this Easter break. So I know how important it is, given that this is a business show, and there are families at the end of every single one of those businesses. There is a person who came up with that concept, came up with the idea, put their heart and soul into building whatever that business was, and now for a lot of them, they are all kind of teetering on a knife's edge as to whether or not they will potentially even be open next week. So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, when we're thinking about spending our dollars, that we're thinking about, you know, how do we support our local businesses, and how do we ensure that they continue to be able to survive? Because although, you know, I had this conversation with my husband, even though, you know, this pandemic and locking down may have saved a lot of lives in terms of, you know, not having COVID being spread, but unfortunately we're going to see the ramifications of that and lives lost in other areas, with depression, you know, with what you talked about, you know, people wanting to take their own lives because things get really, really tough. So I just want to make sure that we're extending our arms around our business community as much as we possibly can, and we're supporting them through these times. So I know Tasmania is a beautiful place to go that I want to get to, and I want to encourage people to also, you know, get in touch with Tony. And as you've heard today, he's got, you know, he operates a lot of different businesses. He knows a lot of people, and if you want some assistance in terms of any of those, Tony Park would be the person to get hold of.
And if I can just leave with some quotes, which I've really brings it all back together. So the first one is, the first one is, mine's a mush at the minute, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you can be the biggest business in the world, but it doesn't really matter unless the consumer, unless your employee, unless the suppliers feel cared about as well. Mm-hmm. And that's when you can all work together and that's the basis of the tribe. And another one which was a really strong one as I grew these different businesses and organisations was that you can't predict the future, but you can create it. Too many people just sit and wait for this bolt of lightning to come and make a change somehow. You know, they have programs like 2CCX and other programs all around the world, Tony Robbins and all of this, and they pay a lot of money to some of these programs and whatever, and they just wait for this bolt of lightning to make some sort of change rather than understanding that it's with their power to be able to make that change. So having concepts like we've talked about today and other concepts that you've shared over time, it doesn't mean anything unless they go out and use it.
Absolutely. So the world that we are creating is going to be created by those who are watching even this show, because I know that the viewers that watch this show are entrepreneurial, and it's the entrepreneurs that start to build the future that we are going to see tomorrow. So, you know, encourage you all to just, if you've got an idea or a concept that and you don't know how to bring it to fruition, then you get in touch with somebody that can help you bring that to fruition, because that's required. In a time like this, it creates a huge amount of, there's a lot of, you know, turmoil and a lot of uncertainty, but there are also huge amounts of opportunity if you look and you are open to seeking and being and receiving those opportunities that are sitting around us, and take action. As someone's saying here, it's all about the action takers. Take some action, because now is the time to do it. So I want to say thank you so much for being on today's show, Tony. Your wealth of knowledge and experience and your wisdom that you have accumulated over many, many years of being very, very successful in business, and sharing your knowledge on, like, it's a very, I love it, because it's a very, very ancient concept, the concept of the tribe, and really taking things back to culture and bringing that into today's world. None of that has gone away. It's very much alive and strong, but it's forgotten in a lot of places. And I love the fact that you're bringing that, bringing that back to the forefront, and that you're sharing with us today those 5 steps that we can do to implement the tribal system into our business. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing your knowledge. I want to let everybody else know too. Thanks very much for being here. I want to let them too know where they can go and get more of Tony. So let me make sure I pop this up on the screen. So if you want to go and check Tony Park out, and you want to also check out some of his books, you can head on over to businesstribes.com. So businesstribes.com is the place to go to get more information about Tony. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we dial out in today's show, Tony?
Only that I'm just got to change that page, so don't jump on too quick.
All right, don't jump on too quick. Give it like 24 hours, and he'll have something special. To go check out. So, guys, jump onto businesstribes.com in about 24 hours' time from today, and Tony will have something special there for you guys to be able to check out from he and his team. But thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of Unlocked. I'm Tracy Wilson. I will be back again. No show this Friday because it is Good Friday, and if you want to, you can follow me, but I might be doing some lives on my personal page and also on the Tracy and Wilson page. Hopefully, fingers, toes, and everything possible crossed, that me and my family will be able to go and have our family reunion, which we've been planning for over 6 months. We are going camping, so about 70 of us. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. We are hoping that the state will remain open for us so that we can go and support some of our local businesses just about a few hours north of where I am on the Gold Coast now. So we'll be back again. Next Wednesday will be another episode of Unlocked, and I'll have another amazing guest for you next week. So I want to say stay safe, have an amazing weekend, enjoy everybody's Easter. I hope you have some time to spend with your family and your loved ones, and just reflect on how wonderful life really is, and all the great things, like Tony said, that you have achieved and you can achieve in your life. So thanks again, and I'll see you again next Wednesday. Bye for now.